Oh. Yay, I think it's working. Hi there, welcome to Real Talk with Angry Soccer Mom. Hi, John. This is exciting. I had such a tragic time last night, but hopefully things are working tonight. This week's discussion topics are anything you feel is newsworthy about racism, bigotry, and inequality in America. And as I always say, that's pretty much everything. So please don't be shy to say hello. Nails and glitter. Yay. And hi, John. Happy you're there. It's been a disastrous couple weeks with me on Facebook, but thanks to all my friends. Les, yay. Oh my gosh. It's so crazy. I can't get a hold of anybody. And then when someone does get a hold of me, they're like, why'd you block me? And I'm like, I didn't. And then I have to explain the whole thing. So it's kind of insane. But I'm just really, really happy that YouTube has nothing to do with Facebook. Oh my gosh, Dean, hi. Neil, oh, you guys are making me so happy. Anyway, tonight, thank you so much for being here. The show's meant to be an opportunity for viewers to, and you're the viewers, to speak their mind and to learn, and also to serve as an educational tool for white folks who want to learn the truth about systemic racism in America. And I'd love it if other people bring up topics. I have set topics, of course, that I've already done, but I've kind of like prepped for a little bit. But if you have something to say about a topic, and even if I don't know about it, bring it on. I want to hear what you have to say. And there'll be plenty of people to pounce on you and tell you you're wrong if you make a mistake. I'm just kidding. That's what they do. Anton, hello, yay, thanks for being here. As a lot of people might know, or maybe hopefully not too many, yesterday I tried to do the panels, the Tuesday panels for the first time. Stevie, hello. And it was a disaster, a total and complete disaster, technologically speaking. But I had a lot of people supporting me. But what happened was pretty much I couldn't see anyone's writing, and four people tried to call in and it didn't work. So I'm so sorry, but I am going to keep doing this. What happened was I was going to have a Tuesday panel show, but most of my friends understandably don't want their face on video because of the repercussions from white folks. You know, I like to keep it pretty real. So, you know, it's not, okay. I'm going to do something really fast. Give me 2 seconds if I can do this. Did it. Okay. I need technology lessons. Any volunteers? But anyway, tonight's show, I'm hoping people will interact and tell me what they think. Let's get started. That's all I can say. I want to mostly be reading what you have to say. So I tried to make the show a call-in show last night, and it was kind of a disaster. Kind of, like more than kind of a disaster. But anyway, I'll stop talking about that. We don't need to advertise. Well, let me see here. I will introduce myself if there's anyone who doesn't know who I am. I want to introduce myself. I'm Angry Soccer Mom, more hurt and upset and concerned than angry, although there is that. I host this live show every week, and I'm attempting to host a shorter version of Tuesday night show, but that's another story. Oops, I said I wasn't going to bring that up. I used to run a whole bunch of communities on Facebook until I got kicked off. So now I'm kicked off, like permanently, I guess. And I'm really sad about it because I miss my friends. Hi, Vernon. Yay, I'm so happy you're here. I miss my friends, and most of my friends think I blocked them because apparently it looks like I blocked the people when they try to get hold of me. So it's been kind of, I mean, I'm just going to be honest, it's been really upsetting. It's been emotional because basically they didn't tell me why, and I think we kind of all know why, but they just booted me out, and that was that. So if anyone wants to get a hold of me, or if you know anyone who used to know me, please tell them to I've taken over one of the admins, happens to be my husband. I put him on 3 months ago on my Angry Soccer Mom Facebook because they weren't sharing my stuff for months and months. Thank you, Neil. Yeah, we need to promote Angry Soccer Mom page. Thank you. You're so sweet. I feel so stupid asking people because normally I just talk to everybody and everyone kind of does stuff, but I don't have any contacts now. I'm booted off I'm even booted off. I'm an editor for Dixon's Justice page. I've been an editor for years and I can't post on there either. So I wonder what he thinks. I haven't even gotten a hold of him yet. I can't get to anybody. So I'm using my husband's name as an admin. It's a long story. Anyway, let's get going. Enough about my woes and problems. There's a lot going on this week. So if you have a story you want to talk about, Dean, I'm so ready to drop Facebook blurts. It's like having a way for people to get a hold of me because I'm online. Exactly. No, Dean, that's that exactly. They are incredibly unfair. And I mean, I've done a couple, maybe this is why I've done a couple live shows just on them and followed Mark Zuckerberg. And unfortunately, it's a nightmare. He's truly racist. I'm sorry. And I don't usually just blurt out, you're a racist, because it's a systemic thing. But the man holds 40% of the United States on there, and that's where they get their news. And he enjoys racism, apparently. So don't get me started. But thanks, Dean, for saying that. I absolutely, same thing with me. So it's crazy. But if you go to my Angry Soccer Mom page, like it or follow it or both, or actually, I don't even know. Somehow you can private message me. And I also, Michael, yay, thanks for being here. I'm also on Twitter at Imagine No Hate. It's Angry Soccer Mom at Imagine No Hate. And I've never really used Twitter, but I'm going to start, and I'm thinking of starting a Reddit group just for people who are really, really into keeping track of what's going on, getting real news, and talking about it and caring. So let me take some. Les, can you imagine if those missiles would have landed and killed troops? Number 45 would have been railroaded out of the White House sooner than his impeachment by white women. Know me, white mutt. You know what? Honestly, this is going to sound just insane. This is going to sound just absolutely insane, but I truly believe nothing is going to get him out short of, well, I can't really mention, but I think, and I know a lot of you absolutely know exactly what I'm talking about when I say they had him at, he had him at racism. I mean, the minute people found out he was racist, it's the person he was looking, people have been looking for their new, leader, their de facto modern Ku Klux Klan leader since the Civil War. They found him, and I honestly don't think it matters what he does. People are, it's insane. But Les, yeah, I mean, maybe, but at this point, I won't say it, but I had a couple ideas where some of those things could have landed. But anyway, I'm not gonna say. Not gonna say it. It's not nice, but it's true. But anyway, great point, Les. Absolutely great point. I don't want it to hit anybody, and I'm glad they didn't. But this is crazy. Vernon, you use Twitter more than I did not know that. So I will have to get you on my Twitter. Thank you. And Neil, Kim, can the automated response be removed from Angry Soccer Mom? Oh, the automated response just comes right on to say, it's for anyone who happens to go on, just join my YouTube channel or whatever. And then I can still get the message and write to you. The automated, it's just if I don't see it immediately, the automated response comes on. So we'll talk. Hosea, thank you for being here. D, America was close to bleeding out right-wing Christian madmen. Now we're bleeding out a whole new generation of them. I know it's Dean, I'm really happy you're here to get your perspective. It's unstinking believable. I mean, I guess a lot of people kind of, yep, that's it, Dean, exactly. You got it right. That's my Twitter. people they've lost their freaking minds. I just don't get it. And so many, I don't even know what to say. I've been saying this every single show. This is absolutely insane. And I definitely have studied a lot of this and why, but it's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it's terrifying. And personally, not to be the soothsayer of doom, but I think our nation's done. I think we're done. I'm just saying, and I don't want it to be true, but maybe let me take some comments. Great point, Steen. I feel the same way. John, imagine no hate. Yes. And handle. Yes. I have to learn all these new words. Yep. That's exactly it. Imagine no hate. And our mistake was thinking America was better than this. Dean, you know what? You took the words out of my mouth. Thank you. I thought we were headed in the right direction. I knew it was slow. I knew it wasn't great, but I thought we were headed in the right direction. And I guess I really underestimated Trump, and I underestimated, I've lived in California and New York. So I'm in pretty liberal states. I've never really set foot to too many other places. So apparently it's not good. Some of us, nails and glitter. Some of us grew up knowing America was corrupt. And you know what? Nails and glitter. I knew it was corrupt, but I don't know. I guess I just believed in my fellow humans. And easy for me to say with all my white privilege. It's very easy for me to say. But I believed that people would do better and every generation would do better and better. And now this is just terrifying. But Trump wants to be king. I'll just say it. A lot of people are afraid to say it. I'm not. He wants to be a freaking king. He wants to be a dictator. And he's absolutely out of his freaking mind. And the scariest thing is, California, America is different than America. I know. It's so funny. But it's terrifying that he's been impeached, and yet I'm waiting and waiting. And I put the skeleton on long ago when I was actually on Facebook. I put a skeleton with me waiting for a Republican to step up to the plate and be honest. I've never seen this kind of partisanship. It's disgusting. It's immoral. I'm not even a Democrat. I just, I'm a humanist, and that's it. I don't want any more labels. But I am. How do they face their kids, their spouses? My God, it's unbelievable. Trump is circumventing and destroying our democracy, our democratic republic. And the rich are getting richer and everyone else is struggling. And that's the way they like to keep it. So, okay, I'm on a rampage here. So if you are new to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing. I have videos that are make me look like a lunatic. Well, sometimes I am, I guess. Rants. I have really nice teaching, like with the little spectacles, like I'm a teacher. Videos. I have news videos and interviews. Most of them are somewhere in between. So whatever you like, you'll probably find something there. I have tons of videos. Unfortunately, a lot of mine have been about 45. Only recently, in the last 3 years, because he's a racist piece of shit. I'm sorry. Oops. Did I swear? So it's everything he does happens to cover racism, bigotry, and inequality because he's a monster. And I work at home, so I can say that. And I don't really care whoever hears me. I'm not saying it lightly. I'm saying it because I've studied his history and I've had my eyes open and like everyone here. And he's truly a mentally ill person. And it's terrifying. And people the white folks just don't care. And not all white folks, but enough. We got him. So, a lot of them. A good portion of them. And it is just terrifying. I love my fellow humans so much. Every single one of them. Even the Trump supporters. But I have lost my faith in humanity. And I used to say, losing my faith in humanity, one Trump supporter at a time. And I truly mean it. It's heartbreaking. What I feel is that, and they're going to do it again, is that white America, those who support Trump, and I know it's not just white America, they sold their freaking soul, or sold out the souls of their fellow humans for the chance at an extra buck or two. And what did they get? An inhumane, sick, morally corrupt, mentally ill man. And I don't say this as just name calling. I'm saying this is factual. He needs mental help, but because he's wealthy, it's not going to happen. And the people around him acquiesce to everything he wants. His own family must just bow down to him. I mean, they're prostituting themselves too. You know what? That's how they were raised. Anyway, I'm blabbing. Let me take some comments. I do blab. John, these people have always been in the background as best I can tell. Absolutely. Great point. And to that point, the one kind of silver lining, I suppose, is that it's all out now. There's no excuse. For white folks who don't understand it, and other people who don't understand systemic racism, there's no excuse anymore. Unless you're hiding under a rock, it is so overt, so blatant, and so cruel. Our cognitive dissonance as a nation has really come together and lowered, because we truly are, as you know, having a leader like that, we're truly doing what we believe, which is being racist as F-U-C-K, you know? So I don't know how to put it. It's the only good thing is that he's brought out the truth, because all this covert stuff is, you know, we'll never talk about it. If we don't talk about it now when he's doing a list, we never will. I mean, if he disappeared the first year, well, I wish he had, but he didn't. But if he did, none of this, or not the first year, the first minute, sorry, none of it probably would have come out. It's the only good thing, but I think it's too late for us. Aren't I fun? I'm like completely negative. We're all going to die. No, just kidding. But I really don't have a lot of hope. So get your travel and passports. Okay. Before he closes the border, I'm dead serious. One of the things we're going to talk about today, if I can get to it, is what he's doing with Iranian Americans at the border. And it's not good. So, okay, let me just put a sock in it. Let me see. So yes, John, they have all absolutely great point. Leslie, 45 is the puppet that white racists needed. They were scared of losing their position, but they couldn't stand up and say anything. They needed it. Their emperor, number 45, and now they will stand behind him. Abso-stinking-lutely. Les, that is, you said it all. Good night, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's it. You're completely right. Let me see. Dean, I can go for a walk and run into people from all over the planet within just a few blocks. Not to mention every God ever invented is also here in California. Wait, every God ever invented is, oh my gosh, so you're from California. Is that right? I didn't know that. Oh, that's so funny. So am I. Honestly, I'm in New York right now, but I do miss well, you know what? I never leave my house. So what am I saying? But yeah, it's a different world for the most part. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy you're here, Dean, and participating. Anton, Kim, did you say 45 murdered the general? Oh, yes. Did they say, you mean, are you talking about oh, I can't even say his name. Yes, absolutely. And that's what a lot of the show's going to be about tonight. So I'll keep moving on, and absolutely, because there's so many ramifications, and I have a rant on completely different topics. So I hopefully people won't run away. But it all kind of goes together. We've been talking about how great we are in America for quite some time. At least the white folks have, and we're kind of resting on our laurels, because you know what? We're not so great anymore. And when you talk about how great you are, just like a kid does, you got to wonder, maybe they're talking about it more than they're showing it. And we haven't been showing it. And I know that's not news to anybody here, but we have not been the leader in humanism. We have not been the leader in climate change. We have not been the leader in how to treat our fellow humans pretty much ever. All right. Now, yes, our Constitution was amazing, and it was a new concept and all that. And founding fathers just had great ideas, but couldn't seem to grasp the morals to do, not all of them, but most of them, to actually follow through in what they knew in their hearts was right. But I don't think America's ever been near its potential, being that we started by massacring the Native people who, don't get me started. We have issues that we've never faced. And until we talk about them, nothing's going to change. Trump can go away, but the people who continue their cycle of racism with their families are still here. And they don't want to learn facts. They just want to be racist. It's like part of the limbic system. Our brain is, some people say that our brain is very new, in the sense that we haven't had that part of our brain, like where we can kind of say, you know what, I'm afraid, but I'm not going to react and just react in fear. I'm going to think and use critical thinking skills. So people aren't using their God-given humanity, which is the ability to be afraid, but still be courageous and think instead of just act. So we're not using, and not everybody, but we're not using it. I mean, Trump supporters aren't, because they're being absolutely irrational, and it's terrifying. Okay, I'll be quiet now. Yeah, right. I never shut up. Let me see. John, you might try Instagram or Pinterest. Yeah, I've thought about those. I'm not sure. Everyone's giving me kind of advice, but thank you. I appreciate that. I just feel sad I have to start all over, but because it took me years to, to get people. And I met so many great people, and now they think I'm blocked. But anyway, Leslie, thank you for that. Leslie, how can I say this nicely? Not all white people are racist, but they're glad to be on the team that reaps the benefits. If your team wins a championship, you get a ring too. Absolutely. And you know what? That's a really nice way to put it. And I know a lot of you know that I personally do believe, now you might want to sit for this. I do believe all white folks are racist. Okay, stop, hold it, listen. It is only because being racist isn't a yes or no question. Okay, it's a continuum for white folks. And implicit bias, which is evolutionarily speaking, very normal. Everybody who has a, probably normal IQ in that sense, has this in them. We want to make sense of our world. And implicit bias is subconscious for the most part, unless you really study it. And if you have implicit bias, sometimes you don't really realize it until you really delve into do some introspection. And if you discriminate when you against people who are brown, African-American, Black, etc., then that's racist. It's the lowest level, and it is subconscious, and it has to do with living in a culture of white supremacy. And that's why I say that. And I see it as more an academic thing than a name calling. I think all whites are racist to some extent. Even me, even people who, Tim Weiss and you, we can't help it. But it doesn't mean that we're doomed to do horrible things to our fellow brothers and sisters. It just means we gotta focus on it. And I try every single day to reevaluate, and I make mistakes. And it's the defensiveness to the word racism that people just lose it. So I know a lot of people probably gasped when I said that, but I have a video on it, why I feel all whites are racist. And I got a lot of threats from that. You should see the threats. I'm going to do a video on threats. It's for the people who, I get a lot of times people say, oh, there's no racism. That's ridiculous. If they read the threats I get, oh my God, they'd be like, okay, there is. But anyway, so Leslie, you said it nicely, nicer than I did, because I'm just being real. It's an implicit bias at the lowest. A lot of people also, they don't understand what racism is. They don't understand. We're talking about systemic racism. We're not talking about you never said the N-word in your life, which is great. but that's not what we're talking about. So for white folks, it's not about us. Yeah. And, we kind of like things to be about us because we're used to it. So there's a lot to learn, and it's a lifetime commitment. And it's not, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, basically. It's more of a lifestyle. It's not really a hobby. You can go to you can support, certain things for a hobby, like maybe go to a couple of protests. And that's, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but to make it a lifestyle, you have to study it and dedicate yourself to it. And there's a difference. And unfortunately, we're not going to get it from top down at all, because we're getting the opposite. And I wish we could have comprehensive school programs and educational things for everybody, but I'm just not holding my breath on that. So, okay. Nails and glitter. I read a study about working age white people are dying at higher rates because of the perceived loss of status across the demographic. Oh my God. That's an interesting one. You got to send that my way. Actually, tonight on my list of things to talk about, I have something, a Riker study, pinpointing some of the harm that's done to Black people and other people of color and, brown, indigenous. And it's a lot of research is now being done, and it's taking its toll they're genetic markers now. And I know a lot of people already know, this is maybe like a year ago. I can't remember when that study came out. People are scientifically studying the genetic markers that are on people's DNA, basically, because of the trauma. People don't quite get, white folks, most of us, we don't quite get how day in and day out, how it can be you don't know who's your enemy. And, you can say, well, no one knows who their enemy is, but you don't know who might be having this Confederate flag thing in their pocket. They'd kill you if they could. They'd noose you if they could. And that is terrifying, to wonder who's who. And I don't speak for Black people or indigenous people or African Americans, but it doesn't take a lot of imagination to walk out your door and not know if you're dealing with someone who would have been a Trump supporter and would have been a flag-toting Confederate. If you've ever read the Cornerstone speech by I have a video on it. It's I have to say, the most terrifying speech I've ever heard in my life, speaking about the Confederates' Constitution. Absolutely terrifying to read. And I have a video on it. And if you look inside the video, you can see the minute marks about what you want to hear. And it's scary. But anyway, that's interesting. Nails and glitter. MeWe. Yes, I've heard of that as well. And Jamie, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Let me see. John, we were great when we elected Obama, but a big part of Trump is Russia's support, not just racism. Absolutely. Absolutely. And right. Great point. But here's my take on that. If Trump started, I always say this and people are probably like, be quiet. If Trump started murdering little white children on TV, just murder, I'm sorry, I'm just saying, doing something just we would be going crazy. So what he's doing, we might not love, but we're kind of okay with it. If we're not okay with something, we stop them. We stop the person. So we're as a group, we're kind of okay with what he does. Why do I say this? Because he's in our White House. So most of us are okay. If you watch Hong Kong, my God, they stormed the place. It's crazy. I have to tell you a really quick story. I work for a company in China, and hopefully they don't watch my videos. And one of my little children that came online with me was so excited to learn about, I told her I was from Canada, but I kind of had to fess up that I wasn't. And I said, in about a year, maybe I'll be from the US because, everyone asks me where I'm from. Get a load of this. She goes, oh, America. I love America, because a lot of them, they love America. Okay. And she goes, but what is going on with your, and she was a really high level. I teach English as a second language, so I can work at home. And I have a credential and a master's in that. So check it out. She says, she was like the funniest kid. She's like 15. She's like, tell me everything. I want to know, why do you guys vote for such a horrible man? And I'm like, oh my God, if I knew the answer to that. She was asking the best questions. She was like, what's wrong with the people? They don't realize he's like a terrible guy. I'm like, no, some of us do. We do. But it was so funny. She was like somebody who, she was asking the best questions. Why don't they kick him out? Like, what's going, it was awesome. She has no clue, only stuff she's learned in China. But she did know about Hong Kong, and she's like, I know people in Hong Kong. We're not supposed to communicate with it. It was crazy. And she just went nuts and told me everything. And it was pretty exciting. So she asked the tough questions, and I just kept saying, it's a great question. We don't get it either, but it was a little nuts. So let me see. Dean, you can't work on racism unless you recognize it in your own behavior. Right. And the stats are still there overall, and it's been for years. 50% of all white adults think we're in a post-racial era. That we had Obama, excuse me. We had Obama's president. Some people state that. Some people state that the people who were enslaved, were forced into an enslaved status, well, we freed them. So we're in a post-racial, like, they're forgetting the horrors that went on from, when people were allowed to be free. We had like a 10-year period. And once the troops left the South, it was over. I mean, black codes, sundown towns, Devil's Punch Bowl. Oh my God. Jim Crow, like you wouldn't believe. I could go on and on. Black Wall Street, police as slave catchers, and the culture. It's insane. But it's really tough, because on top of that, 3 out of every 4 white person in America doesn't have a single close friend who's not white. So where are we getting all our information? From media and fake online, stuff. And it's crazy, but great point. Very great point, of course. I mean, if you want to deny it, you're not going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's pretty much what a lot of the Republicans are doing. But I also know a ton of Republicans who are like, I'm done. I'm not a Republican anymore, if that's what they stand for. And that's like something to be proud of. Because if I was a Republican, I would be like, I'm out. Not a chance. There's no way. I can't watch this bullshit and just, anyway. Let me see. Great point, Dean. Nails and glitter. Great point. She says it as well. John, Francis Clarence Williams wrote about just what we're talking about at 8:26 p.m. Central Time. Tell me more. Tell me more what you mean. Because I'm a little, maybe you did in the next one. Many Americans would rather be a murderer than to be called a racist. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And that's why it's such a loaded word. It's like the new F word. That's what I said about 4 years ago or 5 years ago. I'm like, racist is the new F word. It's like, if you're not supposed to say that, but if somebody calls you the F word, it's like, oh, but now if they call you a racist, that's way worse. And I don't really get it. If you really study our real racial history, it's not our fault. Unless we're born into this, okay? No one was a slave. No one had slaves. But we benefit from the free labor of enslaved humans that we ancestors, white people, allowed to happen. And the you don't just get over that in like, oh, we're free, yay. I mean, sure, dancing in the streets, but our brothers and sisters who were enslaved, they weren't allowed to read and learn. I mean, my God, try doing your homework with no help. I mean, it's crazy. The systemic racism is in every single area. Like Obama said, he said it's in the air. And unfortunately it is. So we got a long ways to go, but denial is killing us. And you know what? Like I say, I always say this, it's kind of repetitious, but would you walk by a person slowly drowning in a pool and just be like, whatever, I didn't shove him in? Of course not. Would you walk by a person slowly drowning in a pool that you see and say, well, I didn't build the pool, so don't blame me? No. Then why the hell do so many white folks pretend they don't see systemic racism and go about their business like this is the way it's supposed to be? This is not the way it's supposed to be. Liberty and justice for all. There's that all thing in there, meaning all. And it's hypocritical and it's a joke. It's not for all right now. I'm not saying everybody should, like get exactly the same, but equity, the chance of success. This isn't rocket science. I'm going to stop yapping for a minute, if that's possible. But John, great point. Shock and trauma is something transmitted genetically. Yeah, that's what they're saying. That is what they're saying. Leslie, I just have one question for my 45 supporters. If they bring back the draft, how many of them would just run down or try to hide or dodge the draft? That's an interesting question. You mean like Trump? I'm going to be blunt. If there is a draft, that's one of the things I was worried about. And my son was drafted, mark my words, I'll be out of here faster than you can blink an eye. Nobody is taking my kid and getting him killed so they can get rich from a war that's ridiculous. This nation is losing their shit and has for a long time. And our wars are for rich people to make money and to further oppress people of color and anyone too poor to get out of it. That's just my opinion. You can throw tomatoes at me, but over my dead body is someone going to take my kid or yours. I'd fight for yours too, and make them go into the military so that they can be used to be murdered for people like Trump to get rich. Not a chance in hell. Oops, I actually spoke my real opinion. So yeah, there's that. I have very, very solid morals, and if this were a real thing and we were living what we say we are, things would be different, but this is for the rich and famous. The rich, wealthy people get rich off wars and exploit everyone else. And I'm so done with that personally. So please don't hate me if I don't disrespect individual military people. I do not. I have the most respect for them, but not after what I know. Not a chance in hell. Michael, okay, you guys are like, okay, now I have like one person watching. Michael, yes, white people as a whole are definitely complacent with Trump and racism. When white people cry their white tears, shit happens. The outrage at Kaepernick, for example. Oh, yeah. And I did a video on that, and I thought it was like, okay, I never think this. Like, I always think my videos suck, and they kind of do. I was like, it's the best video I ever did. And like, nobody watched it. I was like, but that's my best video. It was basically saying, I know why white folks made such a bloody fuss about Kaepernick. Because you see, before that, they could ignore, they like watching football a lot, and they could ignore it. But all of a sudden, they couldn't ignore the people on the field protesting, and it was in their face. And that made them very angry because they don't want to think about it, and they don't want to have it in their face. And all of a sudden, it was impacting them. So they got really, really mad. They just want to go about their life without having to face the fact that we live in a society that's wrought with systemic racism and inequality and lack of equity in a nation that boasts liberty and justice for all. So they went, you should watch the video. People were so crazed. And I truly believe it's because they had to get uncomfortable because those people dared to protest Black, brown, and indigenous people being murdered at the hands of their own government by police for doing nothing but existing. And the saddest part is there's tons and tons of ways to stop them. There's cities all over the place that have pilot programs that are working great. There's training. We just don't want to. We literally do. We like the status quo. When I say we, collectively, the people in society who run it and are in charge, we don't want to do something because it's not like we don't have cures for these things. Other countries don't murder their own people, but we do. And most police get away with it with total impunity. It's unbelievable. But I'm getting triggered tonight, you guys. But thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. Let me see. A great point, Michael. I couldn't agree more. John, 1876 was a very bad year for Blacks in America. If you want to expand on that, jump on in and tell us, give us a little. I love it when people, I'm not the only one who can, blab. You write it all out. Tell us what you want to say, and I will read it. Let me see. Going back. Sorry about that. Michael, the modernization of slavery is the prison system. Absolutely. Free or cheap labor, mass incarceration, and the 13th Amendment. Most white folks do not know that not all slavery was abolished in the 13th Amendment. There's a little clause that says if you are incarcerated, a criminal, that you can be a slave. And starting with Black codes, they took thorough advantage of it. We have the school to prison pipeline. This is all on purpose. And I think about 5 years ago, and you're going to think I'm like a slow learner, and I kind of am. It dawned upon me that this is all on purpose. I thought, well, maybe that, and I've been doing this for a really long time. I worked in Compton, California during the LA riots as a school teacher. Our whole place got burned down. And it was awful. And there were murders every month in our neighborhood, shootouts where somebody would die and you'd hear bullets and you have to lock the classroom. And it was crazy. But I always thought, oh, people just don't understand. But I guess I don't think that anymore. I think they absolutely do understand. And that's a hard place for me to have to go to, but I've kind of evolved as I've learned. We understand perfectly. What Jane Elliott says to her audiences that I love, she says, these giant rooms of people, mostly white folks, she says, so what do you think of racism? Do we have racism? And people are like, And then she says, people are like, well, some people are kind of, I don't think it's that bad. Well, for them, it's not. And so she said, okay, so you don't really think it's so bad. How would you like to be treated the way we treat Black people in America? Raise your hand. Stand up. Not a single person does unless they're lying. So on some level, we do know. And it's a cop-out. And yes, we've been tricked. And yes, if our parents were overtly racist, and it's a betrayal. If mommy and daddy taught you to be racist, then you love your mommy and daddy. So it's kind of a little dissonance there with mom and dad weren't the best parents to you in that regard. Like maybe you were really bad. So it's a really hard thing to face. I get it. But until we just we don't even admit our history because we don't even know it. Most people don't know about Black Wall Street. They don't know the origins of police. They don't know the compromise of 1866. They don't know these things. They don't know that their town was probably a sundown town. So anyway, I'm blabbing, and it's all your fault. Let me see. The modernization of, right. We have for-profit prisons. My God, that's sick. We have for-profit hospitals. That's disgusting. People make money off of our hardship. And the poorer you are, the more screwed you are. I could go on and on. John, Father Clarence Williams writes whites in the United States are born into racism. Yes, absolutely. We are born and we are indoctrinated. And have you ever wondered, when you pass a city, and a city that's been redlined like crazy, tons of redlining, when you pass it, when you were a little kid, when you passed by it, did you ever question it? I didn't. I wondered what was going on, but no one told me anything. And I'd look and be like, wow, the infrastructure looks really bad. People don't keep their houses up. I wonder why. Being in my white little, cocoon, and not knowing anything as a kid. And my parents I was raised in the era of colorblindness. We don't see color, but I did, kind of. I didn't know what I was looking at. And I'd see graffiti and be like, why is there writing on the wall? I'm like 3 years old. I'm looking at this stuff going, and why is everybody I don't really know what it was, but why are they kind of different looking? Like they don't have my skin. They have something. Well, you see that over and over, and you don't question it, and you're not told why. And then you go down for the 11 o'clock news every night and sneak and watch what your parents are watching, and you see Black people in handcuffs. That's how it was in the day. Every night, 11 o'clock news, they'd show a thing over their eyes and Black people being cuffed. It was so propagandist. You're 3. What are you going to think? You equate Black with bad. That's how that's just one example. One example. I learned a long time ago that my neighborhood I lived in Michigan was redlined because there was a giant fence. And I never knew what the fence was because I couldn't see over it. It was so big. And one day, my friends and I was only 5. I was 5 I might have been 6. We saw a hole in the fence and we peeked through. And if you want to watch, one of my videos is all about how I discovered my implicit bias. And looking back at the time, I didn't know what redlining was. It's like a whole nother world back there. And I met some little friends that snuck on through the fence. So check out that video if you want to. It's one of my most intimate videos in the sense that I really blab on and on about like my own personal kind of journey with learning to recognize racism. Okay. Thank you, John, for that. Nails and Glitter says, yep, to Michael. Les, why is it, I understand, but why is it white people to this day don't recognize that they are benefiting from slavery today? Oh, they just don't want to. I don't know the answer to that, but honestly, we just don't want to. It's really obvious. To me it is. And I know you guys who are watching, tell Les, tell him. I don't know. For me, we just don't want to because it's kind of obvious. But yeah, let me just back it up. I'm sorry. Great question, Les. I love it. Keep asking the good questions. It's denial. It's total denial. And I don't get it because if you haven't done anything wrong, you don't have to. I don't hate white people. I just think we can do better than we're doing by living in a fantasy land. And it's like I taught my kids. If you see someone getting bullied, if you see someone being harmed, you don't just stand there and watch. What the hell? You might as well have done it yourself. And yeah, that's a really tough standard to live by. But that's how I feel. And I'm not saying, go get shot, go get killed, but for God's sakes, you don't stand there and watch your fellow human, your brothers and sisters be harmed and just watch. And that's how I feel about systemic racism. Why do we just watch? Well, our fellow humans are being treated like crap. It's just so wrong. But yeah, great question. Michael, the reason some white people ignore racism is because they are bitter about their own shortcomings. Yeah, probably, definitely. The people they overlook is the problem they overlook is their hardship isn't a result of their skin tone. Exactly. And that is an awesome point. What I tell the white folks is this. I say, white privilege has been made a dirty word. It's a word from academia. It's not supposed to be a dirty word. It's the unearned privilege of being, by chance, born white into a society that has based its culture on white supremacy. It's not your fault. White privilege is a fact. You didn't do anything wrong. You couldn't help how you were born. But now that you are learning about it and know about it, step up to the plate and give a shit. It's like, but people get so bent out of shape. They think white privilege means you're rich. No. They think white privilege means you don't work hard for everything you do. No. They think white privilege means that you have a great life. No, no, no. It's so confusing because we've taken this term from academia and bastardized the damn thing into something it's not. White privilege is just the unearned part. What you said, Michael, what you said is that your problems aren't because of your skin tone. I like that you said that. That was really good. John, I'm going to post that you were kicked off of Facebook. Thank you. And some of my friends don't know I was, but don't get me started again on that. I'm trying to just forget it. Okay, I'll just say that I cried for 3 fucking hours. Okay. I'm saying not immediately, but just when I realized that okay, forget I said that. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm absolutely devastated. This is so important to me, not so I can be a hero, not so I can be on TV, not so I can be famous or on Facebook with my picture in a march, because I do it for me, because I can't stand the injustice. I can't stand it. It's just how I was born. I can't stand the fact that we all lie and yay, liberty and justice for all. And we are so full of crap. It's not even funny. I think our nation could be amazing. Despite our past, we could be amazing if we took our Constitution and it was made to morph and to be able to change over time. In fact, if you talk to the people who were running the Confederacy, they hated the Founding Fathers. They hated them because they thought the Founding Fathers were too liberal, because they wrote a Constitution that was going to morph and change over time. And change, it was purposely made to change. Amendments and all that. So it's kind of funny. The perspectives, it's an interesting perspective. But anyway, thank you, John. Les, liberty and justice for all says what it means. All white people. Yeah, Les, I know. Dean, I can still get to hear her page on Facebook. Yes. And that is because you're special. No, I'm just kidding. You can get to my page on Facebook, not my homepage, right? Otherwise, someone's taking it over. When I go into one of my pages on Facebook called Angry Soccer Mom, that I made as a platform when I started getting threats from people. It's a whole long story. When I did that, 4 months ago, I put my husband on because I thought they're not sharing my posts. They stopped sharing my posts. So what I did was I put him on just in case, just on one little thing. And lo and behold, it was just for this purpose. So now when I'm on, I'm not on as me. So I can get on there. But tell me more. I'm not sure what you mean, because maybe they'll bring it back someday, but I don't think so. I think I mentioned they sent me the device to download my Facebook, the entire thing from, I don't know if I've been on for how long I've been on, and I did. So I think that was their way of saying, bye-bye. They basically kicked off. But yeah, tell me more. I'd be interested to hear. John, 1876 was the year Reconstruction ended in the South, right. In the South, federal troops were removed from, okay, that's what you're referring to. Yes, they were removed, and like hell, if the people there were going to allow people who they had looked down upon as not even human to vote and be in office and have power over their dead bodies. And the KKK began all this stuff. Yep, great point, John. Quentin, welcome to the show. I hope you're still here. I'm kind of slow today getting to people. Facts. I speak the truth. I don't hate white people. I love all people for who they are. And if they're mean and nasty, I don't really like them. And I don't care how much melanation they have. I just like to be real. This is our real racial history. That's all it is, like a history teacher. It's our real racial history. So it needs to be told, because if you don't know our real racial history in this country and you talk about what's going on now, you have an ahistorical view that is ignorant by definition. If you don't know our real racial history, then your opinion is kind of made up. No offense, because you can't talk about today without understanding what happened yesterday racially. You just can't. So but welcome to the show, Dean. Okay, let me see here. Getting a few calls here. Back it up. Sorry about that. It scrolls right up there. Backing up. Okay, Dean. Like your Kaepernick story, it's true that when a lot of white folks have to look at themselves, it's scary. And that's why they invented racism. Yeah, I mean, good point, Dean. Good point. Definitely. I think we're afraid to do introspection. And it actually really does set you free. I like not living a lie. I like it. I feel good about not living a lie. Sure, it's hard to face, like when I was doing the Emmett Till video, it took me 3 years to do an Emmett Till video because I had a little boy the same age as when he was brutally murdered. And his parents chose to have an open casket. So people could see, the world could see what they did to their baby boy. And it was really fucked up. It was the sickest thing I've probably ever seen. This little boy was mangled. And his parents did that. And that was definitely something that helped to, it helped to wake people up a little bit. Not enough, clearly, but that was the beginning of 1964, where they say that was the beginning push of the Civil Rights Act actually possibly being passed. But I don't know. That's what they say, historians say. But I mean, I didn't want to. When we talked about the Central Park Five, it's the first thing I learned about Trump. I didn't know who he was. I knew he was some arrogant guy who likes to tell people you're fired on some show, but I don't like wealthy people who use their wealth for obnoxious ways. I didn't know who he was. I didn't want anything to do with him. And the first thing I found out about him was the Central Park Five. I was like, oh my God, the man is a sicko. I mean, I was like, that's crazy what he did to those kids. That was crazy. And it wasn't fun doing videos on them either because they got their lives destroyed. And anyway, I'm blabbing, sorry. But yeah, great. That's a great point. We don't want to face it. Mr. FS Black, hello. I hope you're still here. I wonder how many people actually know about the third stanza of the national anthem. Right, exactly. It's racist as hell, written by a man who was pro-slavery. A lot of his work, supposedly in court, he was an attorney, was to fight abolitionists, fight them so that they wouldn't win in court. I mean, the third stanza talks about how thrilled he is to see the Black people being massacred. Absolutely. I don't know, but I'd say probably not too many. Great point. John, sadly, many upper class Blacks and upper middle class really don't care at all about poor Blacks. Yeah, sometimes I think that's probably true. I don't know, but I think that's probably true for white folks too. A lot of people, I know for white folks, I can't answer to that because I just don't know. And it's kind of not my lane, I guess you could say. I'm not criticizing you, John, but it's just not my lane. I don't go there because it's not for me to say. But white folks have, in this nation especially, have a very, very bad stereotype of impoverished people. Anyone can get impoverished in this country. 50% of all the people in our nation who go bankrupt, guess why they go bankrupt? You think, oh, they're yachts. They're spending on clothes. They're buying. No, medical bills. 50% of all people bankrupt in the United States cite medical bills as the reason. And as a person whose family's been incredibly sick with chronic illness, I absolutely get it. There's these stereotypes that we keep alive and we believe as if they're facts. We don't even realize that these are not facts. These are made up propaganda, just kind of like the propaganda in North Korea, but, you know, maybe not as like murderous, but maybe, you know, I don't think they have much on us there, other than they starve their people to death, every single last one of them, but that's a whole nother story. I used to work for a company that I did fundraising for a company that actually people, if they could get over and escape, not the DMZ, that nobody escapes to the DMZ, but if they could get over to China and they'd get picked up for trafficking, and these people would come in. So there's an underground network in China, and it's run by people from the US and South Korea. But sadly, the truth of the matter is, in a nutshell, because that's not what we're supposed to be talking about tonight, what happens is, I'm sorry to say, that all the studies, they're destroyed. You can't rehab a person who's been tormented and starved to death, and they're terrified of Americans, and it's a really bad situation. So most of them do not do well. They just don't do well. But anyway, let me keep reading. Let me see. Nails and glitter. White became a legal term in the late 1600s, specifically around immigration laws, excluding people of African descent from citizenship. And great point. And if you look now, a lot of times you'll see on whenever you have to put whether you're white, black, whatever you affiliate with, they'll say white, non-Hispanic. Or the reason they do that is because when it's convenient for the powers that be, people who are Latino and they called it Hispanic were considered white when they needed them to be white. It's all made up. So when we needed white people, because we were low on white folks, they got to be white. I mean, that's why it says it there. It's all purposeful. But great points. Great points, sad points, but they're true. Mr. Eversback, when you hold up a mirror to society and show just what happens to the disenfranchised and how many people have a hand in it, there's bound to be some denial and pushback. Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to think of themselves or their society as bad. I mean, I don't want to, but less than that, I can't stand the fake stuff. I was raised with like fake, everything. Good morning. You're like, no, there's a nuclear holocaust going on outside. Why are you saying good morning? It was all fake. So I really have a pushback against bullshit, I guess is what I call it. Sorry to yell swearing, but that's what I was raised by a mom who basically was like, if everyone in her family was like about like on death's door, she'd say, good morning. It's like, okay, dang, you know, so I really, the whole baloney just, I don't know if that's it or I was just born this way, but anyway, I'm going to get to some people and we got to get to our show, to our topics. But yeah, absolutely. John, it is obscured that we whites benefit from slavery. I never heard about that until college. Well, yeah, here's the thing. Some people went to like really, really good schools who were multicultural in their, I mean, right now we have a chapter on slavery. That's what we talk about. Black people, give me a break. That's ridiculous. One little chapter. No, they were here before most of us. Okay. In fact, indigenous people, there's a whole, well, I won't get into it, but they were here. And here's the thing. We have 1 month where we go, yay. It should be every day. 1 month a year in February where we say it's Black History Month. Well, Black history is every day and in our history all over. And so, but we whitewash it out because people who make textbooks don't like it. They don't want to have it. So for the most part, it's washed out. I've seen a couple of good ones, good textbooks, but they don't talk about cowboys. They don't talk, I mean, it's just, and they don't talk about the truth. So of course you don't learn it till you're in college. And that is so uncool. It's like a wake-up call in college and not everyone does learn it. But no, I agree. I figured it out in college. I had to wait I knew something was going on, but I didn't know where to look. Nails and glitter, thank you for speaking up. John, that's not necessarily true. Okay. And let me see. Ghost Killa, hello. Hi, Moppy. Thanks for being here. Yay. Little Mikey must behave and not distract the conversation. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Ghost Killa. Hi, Nails and glitter. Okay. John, before one goes to college, it is difficult to learn about the truth if one's parents doesn't make it a point. Absolutely. John, absolutely. And I don't know if you're my age or not, if you're like old like me, but I was raised in the era of we treat people like we want to be treated. The golden rule, and we don't see color. All people are the same. And that's like a really lovely thing. And it's probably an improvement than being, overtly, a racist Ku Klux Klan member, but it's not ideal. It's not a best practice, and it's not good for being real. It's good for denial, and so we got a lot of growing up to do. But absolutely, if your parents didn't teach you, if you watch the interview with Dixon White that I do, he goes over exactly his journey of how he figured this out. He was raised with absolute overtly racist family, and how he figured it out was in college, when he actually ended up having a black roommate who took him under his wing, basically. And then all of a sudden it opened his eyes. And once your eyes are open, it's another world. It really is. So great points. Quentin, Francis Scott Key didn't include me. Right. I think I'm going to elaborate on that because I don't want to misrepresent you. But, I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but yeah, he was a hater, pretty much, from all the history that I've read about him. And his third stanza got nasty, and we decided to use that as our, national song. And it's racist and written by a racist person. And a lot of people say we can't use yesterday's standards for today, and I call total bullshit on that. Yeah, we can. You think people have evolved that much that now we realize being horrific to a human being is wrong, but like maybe 150 years ago we didn't know? I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. It's just another excuse. Okay? I don't hate racist people. I want to educate them. I don't hate any people. Well, maybe there's one person I hate, but that's a whole nother story. It has nothing to do with racism. So I swear it doesn't. But yeah, good. So tell me more, Quentin, because I don't want to misrepresent you. Leslie, white people finally got the opportunity to see reverse racism. That's the old opioid addiction. Doctors only prescribed Tylenol for pain for African Americans, and guess what happened? Yep. And I don't know if that's like a pure form of reverse racism, but it's the closest we're going to really come. There was a disservice done, and under the guise of it all falls back to the racist propaganda baloney that's, to this day, there are studies done by legit places that show doctors and nurses of every background have implicit bias like you wouldn't believe. They give less pain medication to kids of color than white kids. There was an appendicitis study, and it was done at a reputable hospital. I can't remember which one, so I'm not going to say it. And children of color got less pain medicine overall by nurses and doctors across the board. And it was statistically significant. And it's because it's implicit bias. These people aren't bad people. They're doctors. They want to help people. But we have this strange propaganda that's bred into our society. And if we're not checking our implicit bias at every turn, and even if we are, we're going to make mistakes. But it's better than not checking, I guess. So, but yeah, no, it's a good point, Les. Absolutely. And now look what they do. Lo and behold, now it's like, oh, don't put people in prison. No. We have to help them. Well, where the hell were we when all the people were being, tormented and put in prison for mass incarceration over having this much of a drug that a white, I mean, it's, don't even get me started. But Nails and Glitter, Black history is American history. Thank you. That's all I was really trying to say. You should be here, not me. I'm too wordy. Yes, that's it. Let me see. Where are we? You're 59 years old, John. Well, you look in your picture, you look like 30. So, okay, you're closer to my generation. Okay. Mr. S. Black, a black marshal named Bass Reeves was the inspiration for the character of the Lone Ranger. You know what? That is really interesting, and thank you for sharing that. Part of the next video, the 4 videos I'm going to do on hidden history that you don't know about, hidden racial history in America. I have 4 videos worth of stuff. Part of it is about cowboys, and I'm going to really have to look into that. That's a great, I didn't know that. Moppy, MLK's birthday is coming up, and they're about to twist his words like they always do. One thing that tell me more, if you can, one thing that always happens when Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday comes up is people say, he gave his life for, he did not give his life. He did not turn himself in and say, I think I'll be murdered today. His life was taken. He was murdered. And I know well-meaning folks say that. And it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. So I'm just saying, just a pet peeve of mine, because words do matter. They really do. Like when we say the homeless, well, who's that? How about people who are human beings who are living out on the street with no access to water and a bathroom? I mean, it's dehumanizing so that we don't have to think about it. So I say we think about it and we say the real words. So that, I have a lot of pet peeves, huh? Okay, let me see. Every year, tell me more. Mr. F.S. Black, as Dave Chappelle explained, the opioid crisis is like a mirror of the 80s crack epidemic. I bet they wouldn't like for us to tell them, just say no. Damn, that's powerful. Yep. No, they would not. No, they would not. Ghost Kelly, great point. Exactly, Michael. It's like their white Jesus fantasy. Yeah, the whole white Jesus thing. In one of my videos, I actually go, okay, I'm getting kind of like snippety. I guess you'd be like snarky. I don't know what the word is. Being kind of a jerk in some of my videos by accident, because it's so frustrating. I say, you might want to sit for this. And it's like so rude. And I probably shouldn't have done that. But it's like, by the way, Jesus was not white, like in the blue-eyed little picture, and people, oh my goodness, they get really, really mad. And I don't really get it, but oh, that's Nails and Glitter. I knew it was about the opioid crisis. Yep, got it. Gotcha. Thanks, Nails and Glitter. They're sick. They need treatment, not jail. Absolutely. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. But back then, I mean, that's what my rant's on tonight is how we treat the most vulnerable people in our society, people who are addicted to drugs, people who have been abused, people who do abuse. These are vulnerable people. They end up in prison, and we do whatever the hell we want with them. They end up in prisons for profit. And that is unconscionable. That's sick. We allow people to profit off the sorrow of other people. I mean, there's a lot to take. I'm not sure if you were being sarcastic, Nails and Glitter, or if you're either way. Yeah, it's sick. We need treatment. But back then, oh no, they should be imprisoned. So I mean, it's just, now that they're white, they need treatment. But it's like, Jamie, racism was even during World War II, when U.S. government put American Japanese in camps, but yet the Americans fought against Japanese defending us. Right, absolutely. They put them in internment camps. When I was a little girl, probably too young, I had a boyfriend that was Japanese, and his parents hated my guts. Actually, his dad kind of didn't, but his mom did, and I never knew why. And then I finally caught on. She was in an internment camp as a child, and I guess I represented you know, a whitey or whatever. But it was really hard to take because I never did anything wrong to her. But this is what sick systemic racism does. Nails and glitter. Sorry, my above. Oh, got it. Okay, so I'm gonna do my quick rant, and I would love if people would talk about it afterwards and tell me what you think, because this is a personal rant. Okay, I guess you could say that. It's personal. But first, I want to say, if anyone here has not subscribed to my YouTube channel, can you please consider subscribing and ringing the bell? I do videos that are rants, and I do videos that are kind of calm and teaching, and I do videos that are obnoxious, and I do news and interviews and just lots of different things and live shows. So my announcement today, oh wow, I did not get very far. I am going to, the reason on my Tuesday show that I was going to do, which I did yesterday, which was a total fail because of technology. And it was, I'm going to persevere. I'm not quitting. I was going to have it be a panel show, and I was all excited. But a lot of my friends, understandably, do not want to have their face on videos right now because of the repercussions from white folks. And that is where we're at in our society. And that's pretty much, I find that kind of terrifying. But I don't blame them one bit. So I was going to do a call-in panel on a certain subject, and then maybe split it up with some other stuff. So I got to get the feel. So please bear with me if you like chatting about this kind of stuff on Tuesday nights. I hate to be inconsistent, but at this point, I got to kind of do what I got to do. So, all right. So my blah, blah, blah. Oh, one quick announcement. My friend is coming out, has come out. I met a person who is doing, made a video. He's made a video for the United States, and it's coming out in February, and it is amazing. I have the trailer on my channel, and he promised me a 5-minute longer trailer by now, and I'd love it if you would support his movie. It is very interesting. That's all I can say. And I met with him in New York City for a little bit, and I met with some people that were in the movie, and he's trying to get it out there. So it's really, really kind of a cool thing. And I don't want to keep playing it every time, scare people away. All right. So what else do I have for announcements? The Tuesday show is a panel show. It's for call-in, and it's going to be on a specific topic for half the time, and then the second half will probably be another topic or something else. I'm going to just figure that out. And I am working on setting up another group and trying to build another group. Topics for tonight are Trump's racist war and war for profit and presidency. That's what I put. His racist war for profit and presidency. And the second thing I prepared is discrimination at the U.S.-Canadian border towards Iranians, Americans, citizens. Already, yes. So it continues. The Democratic public debriefing that was done today. Interesting. And a new study, what a new study finds about Black teens. And I want to ask everybody, do you hear noise in the background? So if you do, just give me a yes, and I can probably stop that somehow. All right, just a little noise, but if not, that's good. So today's rant is kind of personal, and watch my audience will go down. Today in America, if you're suicidal, there's a great chance that you will never get a single minute of psychiatric treatment ever. Raise your hand if you knew that. I wish you were in front of me so I could see. In fact, if you attempt suicide and you don't die, depending on how good, thanks, John, depending on how close you get, if you hurt yourself, you may be given anywhere from 0 to a week in a psychiatric treatment. It depends how rich you are. It depends what your medical insurance is, or if you don't have it. And some really complex cases of mental illness and whatnot, from the least, thing to the most, maybe you'll get a little bit more. Insurance companies will tell when you need to be better. The evaluation and treatment that's used to take months and months takes a minute to a few days, to maybe a week, maybe two. Okay? I've talked to many, many mental health professionals, and they're appalled, and there's not a damn thing they can do about it. Our mental health care system in the United States is for profit. Let that sink in. Our mental health care is for profit, and it's not profitable because people need a lot of freaking help. Mental health care is one of the mental health and the brain and our chemistry is one of the least, it's one of the newest sciences, like that with that and maybe undersea, really, really far unexplored sea places. There's a lot of science that we just don't know about, and brain chemistry is definitely one of them. It's in its infancy, and it's probably going to stay in its infancy because we're in denial and we don't have a mental health care system. And you'll get to know why I'm talking about this in a minute. And yes, it's for profit. The mental anguish of our fellow humans who are born with this propensity, we make a profit, and it's not profitable. So I'll show you some stats that you won't believe. Calling it a system is a gross exaggeration, actually, because we don't have a comprehensive mental health system in the United States. And, oh, wait, except if you're wealthy, we do, because you can pay out of pocket and get the amazing treatment that you want. In the 80s, the average health stay for mental hospital was probably 20 to 30 days, average. Whereas today, it's a week or less. And that's according to the New York Times research studies. In the mid-50s, there was 555,000 people at any given time in a psychiatric bed in a hospital. There are fewer than 55,000 today. Okay, our population isn't like getting lower. So, I mean, it's unbelievable. Today, severely mentally ill people often wait days, weeks, or even months to get a bed. What are they doing in the meantime? Well, not such good stuff, feeling like crap about themselves. Even then, for-profit insurances can dictate your treatment and pressure doctors to release patients so they profit. I'm going to excuse myself and shut the door for 1 second. Okay, I'm back. You didn't see that. But what happens to people who are mentally ill? Well, if you're born with a severe medical condition, you can lead a normal life. Amazing. With most mental illnesses, you can lead a normal life, but not if you don't get treatment. When you're left untreated, we become non-functional, suicidal, and become addicts, and we self-medicate, and we do whatever it takes to be okay. Some of us become criminals, some of us become homicidal, rapists, I don't know, or just so depressed we're non-functional, or basically non-functional parts of society. When you do get excellent treatment, there's a ton of people who can live a normal life. 1 out of every 4 people in America in their lifetime, supposedly, is going to need some sort of psychiatric treatment for some sort of mental illness, whether it's continuous or just a bout of something. Somebody dies you love and you get depressed. That's kind of normal, right? Sometimes it's hard to pull out of it. So it's ridiculous. Now, if 1 out of every 4 Americans were to have a heart attack, you bet your ass we'd have health. Wait a second. I'm sorry. No, I wouldn't. It's America. If they were rich, we would have health care. We're really behind. Okay. So we are greedy for profit, and we actually don't have adequate medical care for anybody. It's really, really bad. And Michael says this, you got blocked on it. Michael says, this subject upsets me because it's used for white suspects in criminal cases as a defense, rarely used in the defense of Black people. Crazy, since America contributes to our mental health issue. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And you know, if we did have mental health care, who would get the best? The wealthiest people. And because of systemic racism, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Great point. Great point. So why am I talking about this today? Well, why am I bringing it up today? It's been decades since we've had any semblance of a mental health care system in America. But aside from the obvious inequity and pain, it is a medical condition, just like diabetes, and people don't want to talk about it, and it's causing the death of people. Because when you don't talk about it, then it's this terrible thing. But anyway, I'm not going to get into the psychology of that. This is personal for me this week, because over the winter holiday, where the kids didn't have school, someone from a neighboring school in my area, and it was a different district than where we are, was arrested for planning to shoot up my children's school. And one would think, well, they didn't. We got lucky. They put him in jail or whatever. Well, we discovered the plan. The police discovered the plan before it was carried out, and he was arrested. But here's the problem. January 1st, 2020, a landmark New York law curtailed the use of cash bail. It went into effect, signaling this leap in the nationwide movement to reduce the number of people held in jails, which overall sounds fantastic, right? We want to reduce this for-profit, sick, messed up, depraved system we have in the US. Might sound good to end mass incarceration. However, mass incarceration disproportionately impacts people of color via systemic racism and every step of the way in the supposed justice system. Quentin, I want to commend you for, thank you. You're so sweet. I want to commend you, I'll read this, for trying to make a difference, raising awareness of American society and history. Thank you so much. And you know what? I do it for myself because I can't take it. I can't take it. And I used to be shy, but this is not about me. And thank you so much. That is such a sweet, nice thing to say. Thank you. And John, thank you so much. John, the United States still behaves what some Protestants taught us. All mental illness is a product of a person choosing to sin. Falsehoods die hard. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of it's genetic too. And it's such a, right. I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous, but we love to cling on to our, right. So here's what happened. It sounds like a great idea, right? No cash bail in New York. But here's the problem. The movement to eliminate the cash bail is great because it makes the system a little fairer for more impoverished people who are far more likely to get stuck in jail while awaiting trial. And when you're poor, you'll lose your job. You'll lose your children. You haven't even had a trial yet, and you lose everything. It doesn't matter if you're innocent. So that is a great ideology, and I love it. I mean, many people can't borrow from bail money from bail bondsmen, and they're in debt. And I mean, it's a sick system we have. Wealthier people, meanwhile, can buy their way out of pretrial detention. They can pretty much on any charge, from shoplifting to murder. But here's the catch for New York. A new law in the state of New York for misdemeanors and nonviolent felons is that there's no cash bail permitted. So judges are forced to release individuals charged with these crimes with no bail. But here's the tough part. Unlike most states, New York State judges are not permitted to detain people due to their concern that they might pose a danger if released. And that is a rule that most states don't have, but we do. So lo and behold, that's been around since 1971 to ensure that people who are charged with a crime are afforded the presumption of innocence. And all these ideologies are great, but they added up to this. The 18-year-old who threatened my kid's school was arrested and let go in a couple hours. He made a threat to shoot up the school, and the judge had to let him go. All right. And because of these two laws combined, and he'll show up to he has a court date set, but he's 18. His parents can't commit him for 72 hours. They can't do anything. He's in high school. So he went home that day after being arrested. And while the parents and kids were terrified to go to school. And the school has thousands of kids. It's a big school. Understandably, they were terrified that he'd come back and shoot them and do what he wanted to. He went to jail for a couple hours and they let him go. Not in his parents' care, not in a professional, not in a mental hospital. So this stuff with systemic racism is very complicated. There's no blanket anything that's going to work. But so the parents at my kids' school started fighting about whose fault it was. They blamed all the liberals. They said all of us should be fully armed and none of this would happen. So it got really ugly. And I kind of tried to stay out of that because I'd get into it. They blamed the liberal parents for endangering their children's lives. We didn't make that law, or who's we? I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous. They claimed that if everyone had a loaded gun, our kids would be safe. So there is a huge fight going on at one of my kids' schools over this. And they brought extra police that day. But the young man needs mental health care, for God's sakes. You don't talk about shooting up someone's school when you are doing well and acting, within the range of normal mental healthiness. So this thing's crazy. So I'm sorry, every single scientific research study begs to differ that giving everybody a gun is going to help. If our teachers have a gun, who the hell do you think is going to get shot first? The kids of color. I'm sorry, systemic racism with even the minimum implicit bias. Let's be real. So, but blaming liberals for not allowing all humans to be fully armed might be satisfying. I want to know why the hell the United States, we're supposed to be one of the richest countries in the world, and we don't have any type of real mental health care. So that's what I want you to comment on. So this week across New York State, opponents of the new law have publicized cases, and it's been like 8 days. It's been 8 days since the first, right? And so far, there's been repeat burglars who have been let go. Just come back when your trial date is, and, it could be in a month or two. Off you go. Serial bank robbers, a man accused of manslaughter, murder, an alleged hit-and-run drunk driver, and this little boy who's 18 who made what they call a terrorist threat, but it doesn't fall under the guise of being able to give him mental health care or help him in any way. And so this kid, forget about all the kids that are terrified. The little kids are terrified to go to school, all the parents. What about this kid? What else can he do to get help? I mean, talk about a cry for help. What more does this kid have to do to get some goddamn mental health care in this United States? I'm sorry. It just pisses me off. He's begging for care. He needs help. But we'll just arrest him and let him go. So, I mean, it's just, we got issues, guys. There are solutions to the problem, but it would require us to not be money hungry and greedy. It would require those in power to care more about human beings than their profit. So I want to know where the script is, where people stop making money off prisons, stop making money off hospitals and doctors, and start giving a shit about human beings. Thank you. I've finally shut up. No. So that's what my rant is about tonight. I want to know what you have to say, and then we will move on to any topics you want to talk about. And I have a couple prepared things that are really scary. John, United States. Oh, I read that one. Michael, there should be conditions of bail. No guns, no contact at schools with police. Yeah, being armed actually contributes to gun violence. Absolutely. And it also contributes to suicides. I'm sorry. Feelings change. When you are suicidal, and you have a gun near you and you're in the moment, you can use it to kill yourself. 5 minutes later, your feelings might change because that's what feelings do. I don't mean you're happy and thrilled, but your feelings do eventually change. Most people who are suicidal, eventually their feelings change slightly so that they're not suicidal. Okay? And having a gun next to you is pretty much an offer to just end your pain now. So I just have a lot of issues. I'm not pro stealing people's guns. I'm pro common sense. Imagine that. So I'm not holding my breath for any of this to get fixed. So back we go. My next topic, if you want to talk about it, nails and glitter. I have guns and I'm not the dangerous one. Good. And you know what? For all the people who have guns and want to have a gun and are responsible, it's common sense. Be responsible. I think if anyone gets a hold of somebody's gun and kills himself, the person, who gun owner, should be responsible. You should see how many people will lock up their guns. It'll be unbelievable. I think common sense, not take away everyone's guns. I'm not anti-gun. I'm pro common sense. And having teachers have guns is ludicrous. That's just, I mean, it's not even don't even get me started. I mean, they'll probably shoot themselves. I mean, crazy. But my next topic that I have prepared is Trump's racist war scheme. And I want to know, what do you guys think is, okay, I think obviously that he started this, he's going to start a war for a pathetic attempt to, and nails and glitter, I did not mean to insult you in any way. It's just, of course, you're responsible, but other people aren't. A toddler kills someone every week in America. Look it up. What the hell are their parents doing? My God, that's insane. Sometimes it's their parents they kill. So I'm just, sorry, I wasn't laughing at that. It's just, that's insane. That's crazy. There's common sense must prevail. Okay, so here's the thing. I think he's doing it obviously to basically, yeah, right. You lock your stuff up, and no armed teachers are not the solution. It's ridiculous. Right. No, I just, common sense. I mean, we can't stop inadvertently we can't stop and check ourselves for our implicit bias as teachers. We are suspending Black kids and giving them detention disproportionate to white children. How do you think we're going to do with a gun? I know the first person to be shot. And you know what? When the police come, I don't even get into it. But yeah, we got a lot of growing up to do. So how's this war thing going to get a president elected? Well, I was kind of curious. Kind of makes sense. And I think you probably all know, but I looked up the diversionary war theory. And what it is quite simple. It states that those who are threatened by domestic turmoil, occasionally presidents will initiate an internal conflict in order, when they have internal conflict, they will create an international conflict to push the nation away from the internal troubles. I'm getting my words mixed up here. And that makes sense. And then the stats show quite clearly that a president who wins a war is reelected. So it's this crazy thing. And I put out a ton of videos on it. Today I put out 2, and the other day I put out a couple more, because this is crazy. This is just, and his, Trump had said, you know, I know Obama's going to do this. And you know what? It's how he thinks. He knows he's going to do it. And he did. Michael, I'm definitely anti-gun. White people with guns in their history is clearly dangerous. Blacks with guns are basically committing suicide because it gives cops a green light. It's, you know what? I respect your opinion 100%. It is such a tough thing. It is just, it's an incredibly unfair, horrible, horrible thing. And it's all because we won't face our own racial history and look at ourselves and delve into our own personal belief system and implicit bias and covert racism and overt racism. We just won't do it. So all these other things are complicated because of it. And we're just too fragile. And we got to stop this stuff because people are dying because we're afraid to look in the mirror. That's messed up. But this whole thing has been essentially his MO the whole time. Trump, for everything he does, he's stripped away at the checks and balances of our Constitution in order to get more power. And he does it by, this is what he does, causes trauma. And then somehow he comes in and tries to fix it after he caused it. Like the stuff at the border with the children being taken from their loving parents and then lost. And then I'm getting started. I'll read something. Okay. Michael, the gun laws are in place to disarm people of color. Absolutely. Because it follows suit with the origins of the police. Absolutely. Ghost Killer, they're nothing without their guns. And you know what's so scary is people in nations that are, congruent, I guess, to ours. If you look at the stats on people being killed, it's terrifying. They're not being killed in other countries like we do. We are out of control. We're just out of control. Nails and Glitter. I'm Black, and if we never exercise our rights, they keep us from protecting ourselves with fear. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any judgment on the person's own reasons for having guns, especially a person of color or a Black person or indigenous person, but my overall thing is we need common sense. We could have a system that connects every single person. You shouldn't be able to become a cop in another state after you've done something horrific. No. You shouldn't be a wife abuser or a husband abuser if you're a police officer. No. These are common sense things. If you do domestic violence, you shouldn't be given a gun. I mean, I'm not talking extremes here, people. So Nails and Glitter, I care because I refuse to be dependent on the police response time. Right. And I don't know where you live, but I don't know if white folks all know this, but a lot of times in some neighborhoods, police response time is really bad. And then oftentimes, some, not all, police get there and they see a Black person and they think the Black person did it. I mean, how many videos have you seen where the police comes in to the person's home that called and they're Black and the police arrest them? Remember a couple of years back, the guy on the bus who helped keep this young woman from being attacked? They called the police. They came after him. He was the hero. There was a case in someone's home where he kept the guy there that had broken in. The police arrested the Black guy. It's like, this is crazy. So I don't blame anybody. I'm not judging. I sound like I'm judging, but I'm kind of judging, but not you personally. I have no right to judge a person. I have no right to judge a person living in a society where they're in a numerical minority group that has been historically oppressed. Who the hell am I to judge? That's not my place. So I don't go there, but I do go to common sense. Nails and Glitter. I also have a lawyer. Yeah. One of my friends actually sells this thing where you can have a lawyer on call, an actual lawyer on call at all times for like $20 a month or something. And I don't know how good it is, but and then another one of my friends sells this little flap you can keep on this is crazy. We have to have all these accommodations because most white folks refuse to look at their own racial bias and implicit bias and bigotry. All this, we're all bending over backwards for white people when all we have to do is figure out what our deal is, get through it, and do better. I'm not saying people be perfect, but this is crazy. People are dying because we can't look in the mirror. That's crazy. The bottom line remains that no wartime president has ever lost re-election. considering Trump's documented history of launching distractions, it would be naive for any of us to think that he's unaware of the fact that his impeachment trial is coming up and the election's coming up, and he is absolutely purposeful in his mob boss-like tendencies. So why would I host a live show about the possibility of Trump starting a war and purposely getting us into it? This show is supposed to be about the topics of systemic racism, any form of racism, bigotry, anti-racism, education, and Legal Shield. Yes, I'm talking about Legal Shield. I forgot the name. Very good. Yep. Good one, John. Why would I talk about this? A war. What does that have to do with inequality, racism, bigotry? Well, I'm going to tell you. It actually has a lot to do with it. Michael, the leading cause of death to Black males stems from police brutality. Yeah, it's epidemic. It's terrifying. And we should, personally, I think we should be in the streets going nuts. I don't know what's wrong with our culture. And John, yes, Legal Shield. I mean, I do know what's wrong with it, but I don't get us. We have the potential to be the most humanistic, amazing society. We could be at the cutting edge of social science in every area, but we're not. We're not even close in a lot of them. I don't get it. So, yeah, I only said because he mentioned legally caring. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. You're good. You guys are wonderful. So what do you guys think? Why do you think the war has to do with racism? I can name off a few things, but I'd like to know what you think. I mean, obviously, it has to do with racism because Trump is an overtly racist. You know, he's the de facto modern leader of the KKK for the world, as far as I'm concerned, and he wants to get reelected. And based on having every single wartime president get reelected, he started the war, so that's definitely it. But also he's got impeached, and he, you know, so far nobody's really budged in the Senate, but it's a good distraction. And wealthy people can make money off wars, and that's total inequality. And here's another point. He is wanting to go to war with people of color. These people who live there are mostly brown people, tan, you know, like melanated, you know, darker than what you'd consider white, which is all made up anyway. He's okay with that, dropping a few bombs here and there because, you know, they're not white. That has to do with it. And there's... Oh, like I'm getting there. Somebody back there yelled, they're also Muslim. Yep. He is a bigot. That was my next one. Thank you. He's a bigot, so he doesn't really care if we kill people of the Muslim faith. And I'm not speaking for him personally, but his general behavior kind of speaks to this, don't you think? Let me see. Nails and glitter. I'm female. Got to protect myself. Nails and glitter. Honestly, I personally am not judging you, and I hope it doesn't seem like I am. I'm not judging you at all. You got to do what you got to do. And I know you're an awesome person, and you're probably my most responsible ever. And I am not judging you. I'm just going by statistics overall, but not you. I'm sure you are awesome. Michael, brown countries that have natural resources that don't submit to European dictatorship have always been targets to white supremacists. Very well put. Thank you. You should be on here because you're succinct and it makes sense. Yep. Now, a lot of people like to tell me that I hate white people. And it's really a cop-out because I am a white people and I don't hate myself and I don't hate any white people. Maybe there's one, but that's okay. Long story. That doesn't count. It's from a long time ago. I really don't hate white people. I believe in white people. I haven't given up on white people. I think we can be better than this. We have to be better than this. Hello, RGF Town 1. Welcome to the show. We're talking about war and racism. And yep, thanks. And Michael says, I understand, to Nails and Glitter. Absolutely. So he's going to bomb people who aren't white. So what does he care? And most of them are Muslim. So, I mean, it's like a double whammy for him. And yeah, I'm jaded. And yeah, I truly believe that he loves every minute of it. Just based on the history, his behavior. And also, talk about inequality. He will be attempting, if it gets bad, to send the average American's child, wealthy kids don't go to war. Ask Trump. Okay, they don't. He'll be sending our children to be murdered in a war that he gets to make money off of. So, yeah, that's why war has to do with racism, bigotry, and inequality, because there's nothing equal about it. There's a lot racist about it, and there's a lot bigoted about it. So, and he will harm the poorest people. When they come back, all broken, we'll have our medical system that's non-existent. We'll have people who come back and have to be on medical assistance, and they'll have to be on food assistance because we don't take care of our own. And so what does it have to do with racism and bigotry and inequality? A president starting a war like Trump? Pretty much everything. Let me read some comments. RF Town 1, I've given up on so-called white people. And that's like so sad, but I don't blame you one bit. How long does a group of people who have been in a numerical minority groups and marginalized and oppressed purposefully and knowingly by their own government, how long is, how long are they supposed to wait and keep believing in the white people? You tell me. A year? A month? A decade? Centuries? After a while, I don't know. So that's, it's not my place to even address it other than to say, I cannot imagine how I'd feel. I cannot imagine how I'd feel. I mean, I kind of can, but a little, because it's enraging. Whenever somebody who is black or brown starts to trust me, it is a gift, because I know I'm part of and I didn't do anything to them, but it doesn't matter. I'm white, and people in the past and today have done unconscionable things that most white folks don't even know about. So I understand giving up. I haven't. That's my privilege talking, probably, but I can't. I can't give up. Hope is the only thing I have. And it might be blind hope. It really might be, but I got to do it. But yeah, I can't imagine how I'd be. Okay, enough about me talking about me. Yeah, I feel like I understand. Michael, RGF Town wouldn't give up. Younger white kids deserve all the education, mentorship, and truth they can. They really aren't given a fair shake either. Remember, racism is taught. Yeah, and I can't speak for him, but when he says he's giving up, or I don't think I'm just guessing, and you can say, because you can write it. I wish this was a Colin. I think he just means, that he's not like quitting on people probably, but he doesn't put a lot of faith in it probably. I don't want to speak for you, but yeah. I can imagine, depending on your circumstances, that it'd be really, really hard to be woohoo, hopeful, especially with all that's going on today. Do not blame anybody. So that is the stuff on war. If people want to hang out, I will keep going. I have, did you guys hear of the Iranian Americans being detained Let me tell you about that. Yes, it's already started. According to the Washington Post this week, dozens of Iranian and Iranian Americans were held for hours. And listen to this, the lies and the bullshit. I cannot even believe it. The lies, and it's like unbelievable. Classic. I've seen younger generations of white people going hard on racist people. They exist. Yes. Not to toot my own horn, but I have two adult-like children who I've seen do ludicrous things that I wouldn't have even done because they are so bold. And I am so stinking proud of that part of them. They've called out people. I'm like, oh my gosh. You know what? More power to them. And you're right. There are certain areas of this country that you better not act racist, and you better not do all that, because people are going to be all over. I've seen incredible hope too. So I have to say, but yeah, it's tough. Michael, I've seen the same thing too. That makes me happy that you have too. Neil, Iran is informing the United States nations that it took a measure and appropriate military response to the U.S. airstrike that killed its top military commander and does not seek escalation or war. Now, that's like pretty recent, right, Neil? It's kind of like, because I don't believe them. I'm sorry, because Trump's going to do something to them. Or maybe they're smart and they're not going to do it. And then Trump's screwed because he's not going to get a war because he wants a war. Anton, at RGF Town and Kim, it's not necessarily white people. It's the fake ass, corrupt, bigoted governments. They just happen to be white all around the globe. Mass corruption, murder, and destruction. Thank you for putting that. That's a good way to look at it. They happen to be white, but that just kind of stands out for me. But yeah, you're right. Good way. Good thing to say. Neil, if I repeat this last post, I am sorry. No, it's okay. I got knocked off YouTube. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. No, you're fine, Neil. Keep going. Yes, that is a recent news post. Yeah. What do you think that's about, you guys? Do you think that's because they really just don't want it, or they don't want Trump to get reelected, or a combination of things? Or if you see some of those videos, Trump helped unite a country. They weren't so united, and now they are. Thanks, Trump. I don't know. I'm so jaded right now. I don't really believe anything. But tell me what you think. Do you think that they're just afraid, or are they lying and they're just going to do something to us? Or I don't know, because we murdered one of their government people. And the crowds in the street were amazing. John, I cannot thank you enough for being here. And he needs to go. And I know a lot of people need to go to bed. Thank you so much for being here. Your support is just so appreciated. Good night, and please come again. And hold out hope for that Tuesday show. We'll see what happens with that. And Michael, Anton, facts. However, the racist politicians that are in office are voted in by racist white voters. So we can't give them a pass. Good point. That's the thing. If we have racist politicians and they aren't being driven out of office, it's a choice. So it's a tough situation. I know what you're both saying, and I absolutely, it's all of the above. Mr. F.S. Black, great point, Michael. Mr. F.S. Black, a little comedy for today when news reported Iran putting a bounty on Trump's head for, no, stop. Oh my God. I'm sorry, I'm not even going to comment because wow, really? A little comedy for today. The news reported Iran putting a bounty on Trump's head for $80 million. Comedian George Lopez tweeted out, "We'll do it for half." That is hilarious, what he just said. No comment. But yeah, that's funny. Anton says, you are absolutely right. Ghost Killer, most Americans didn't even know the general, but they have the most to say about him. You ask me, he was a hero in my eyes. Tell me more about that. He definitely brought the country together. supposedly he was a bad guy, but other presidents weren't afraid to take him out. They thought it would be a very poor choice. Look what we have happening. They were right. Our RGF Town 1. Honestly, to find a so-called white person who is truly aware of racism or wait, like Mom or Dixon, I'm blown away by them. I asked myself what happened to them that made them see the truth. And waiting for the next comment. No, it's like a good question. It's a good question. Because when I was little, I saw it when I was 6 years old. I didn't know what it was. I was like, you know, the stoogy old kid, like, but something was very wrong and I knew it. And I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know how to, I was like a little kid. But I spent, when I was 12, I figured out more when I was, but yeah, no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But yeah, you should watch Dixon's interview. It's interesting. He kind of explains how it came around. But yeah, what makes a person get it and really try to, I know for me, I was like, I'm not the crazy one. I know that sounds so silly, but I was like, this is real. I knew it. When I figured out who Jane Elliott was, I was like, oh my God, I'm not the crazy one. She gets it. And it was like so nice. It was just so nice to see that, like, yes, my feelings are legit. I'm seeing this. Why are the adults ignoring it? Why aren't they helping the people? Why are they just watching or pretending they don't see? So it was like such a great feeling for me to realize, like, it's real, because no one ever said a word to me. And I didn't have any black friends or brown friends. So it was just like, we pretend it's not there. Yeah, good, really great point. Really great point. And if I knew, education is just so key. Let me see. Do they know they will be considered crazy as hated? Are you talking about white folks who speak the truth? Tell me more. If that's what you're talking about, I can answer to that. I can answer to that. Quentin says, right, Gus Keller, Mr. Evans Black, bad guys don't usually have an entire country mourning their death. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. The country was really split on him. I mean, for a while, but after this, wow. Even I don't know if you guys saw those videos, even their parliament was like screaming death to America. The parliament. Okay. So yeah, we've united them. Lovely. It's not good. That poor nation, oh my God, has been abused by us. No comment. Yeah, I mean, I know he did some things, but I don't know what. I don't know enough about him to say. But a lot of the Democratic politicians were saying, yeah, he was a really bad guy, but doing that was not the right thing. Other presidents considered that, and they did not do it. So Trump often comes up with these things like, I had the boss. No, you had the stupidity to do it. It's like, probably didn't, the guy's nuts. Let me see. Michael, Iran had an ample opportunity to strike hard. If we had troops stationed there already, why would Iran only target the U.S. embassy? Furthermore, the timing of all this raises suspicion. Yeah, the whole thing is just, it's everything he does. Everything he does is like, yeah. RGFT. Some families disown their children when they speak against racism or have so-called black friends. Yeah, I know. Yep. And I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, if that's the case, then so be it, because I'm not living a lie. I can't stand it. And that would be a really sad statement about someone's character if that's what they did. That's sick. But you know what? For me, the way I look at it is I got one thing when I'm going to the grave, and that's going to be my personal integrity. And I'm going to take my last breath knowing I might not have made a difference, but God damn it, I tried. And that's all I need. That's that's my level of where I feel I can deal with it. As long as I keep trying and never give up, maybe I'll reach one person, maybe I'll reach two, but I can't just sit and do nothing. And if people do that with me, and I know I lost so many friends, but you know what? I don't want those people around me anyway. And I lost, there's a particular friend that I have to say, it was like heartbreaking, but I'll live. People who have to deal with systemic racism in America might not live. I'll be fine. It's not about us. But yeah, that's it. I always wonder, like, the psychology of it. Like, what makes somebody do something? So these Iranian Americans have been stopped at the Washington border with Canada. The Department of Homeland Security claims that, oh, you won't even believe this. Thank you, RGF Town 1, and thank you for your support. It means a lot to me, because a lot of times when you do what I do, white people can't stand you, which I'm fine with, but people who are not white don't trust you. So it's like we kind of can be a nomad. And I have to, when I say to white folks who say, well, black people don't trust me, I say, well, we've earned that. We've earned that. And the only thing we can do is to prove our, how we really feel, and our honesty is our behavior over time. And even then, not everyone's going to ever trust us. It's been centuries, and I don't blame anybody, but a lot of times white folks are really turned off to it, because that's one of the reasons I do this show. I want people, if nothing else, to see this like white lady talking about racism. That's it. Just talking about it. And I live through it every time. And I'm kind of saying that like, snarky, but it's okay. I can talk about racism and nothing bad happened. It's an okay thing to talk about. A lot of white folks are they don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to feel like maybe they'll think I'm racist. Maybe I'll blow it. Yes, you're going to blow it. I blow it all the time. And it's embarrassing. And I just want to die in a corner. And then I get my butt back up and say to myself, guess what, Kim? It's not about you. And learn from it. And I do that. But a lot of folks, it's hard to, so anyway, I'm blabbing again. So check it out. Apparently 60, but thank you we're having really nice people commenting, and I just totally thrilled. The impact, it impacted 60 people or more travelers. A lot of them were returning from trips on vacations from Canada and all these things, coming to the US, back home. And guess what? Trump murdered somebody, and now you don't get to come back in your own home. So that's pretty messed up. The border officers are not permitted to refer someone to what's known as a secondary screening based solely on their national origin. It is, however, one of the factors that they can use. And since that's really, really subjective, apparently some people at the border in Washington state over there decided to pretty much, this is what they said. One person who was forced to have this secondary screening said that every person in there was of Iranian descent. I mean, go figure, go figure. Of course there were. And so there's the executive director of CARE, which is the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is kind of like the ACLU or the Southern Poverty Law Center for people of the Muslim faith in America. They're a well-respected organization. They said that the reports are extremely troubling and potentially constitute illegal detention of United States citizens. It's just revamping the bigotry against Muslim Americans. And of course, I knew it would. So lawsuits are possible. And the Custom and Border Protection said that all the reports made by all these renowned newspapers with great respect are completely false. And that completely makes sense. And they said people were simply experiencing delays. And they didn't, they were overloaded from the holidays and understaffed. Yeah. they're claiming that the processing time at the Blaine port of entry increased by about 4 hours because of the high number of people entering and staff shortages from the holidays. Okay, one person waited 10 hours. The guy who went in said that everybody there was Iranian. Okay, the BS is overwhelming. Let me take some comments. You see they love the general. So yes, Soleimani had from his nation, but he was slandered a monster. Yeah, I just don't know enough about him. I really don't. I mean, a lot of times in America, to be honest, we like to call someone a murderous, whatever, when we're doing war to them and they're supposed to just stand there and take it. So I don't know. I don't have any comment on that because I don't know enough about what happened in his past. But I see them now, and they pretty much were yelling and chanting death to America. The Democratic, I guess her name's Pranella Jayapal. Pranella Jayapal. I don't know if I'm saying it right. He represents the 7th District in Washington, D.C., is the co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. She had a big, I actually posted it. It might be up by the time I end the show. It might be up. But she and her co-chair and a whole bunch of people at the Progressive Caucus had some words to say about what they think's happening. First, I will take some. RFGT one says, that's great, Mom. I know, LOL. Okay. Ghost Killer. I remember hearing years ago he was supposed to meet up with Farrakhan to discuss the mistreatment of African Americans. The general didn't like the way African Americans were being treated. Really? I'd love to read about that. If you can, I don't want to put you to work, but I'd love to read about that. Ghost Killer. Fly Nubia Queen reported this years ago. I'd really love to read about that. That's interesting. RF Ghost Who? Ghost Killer? Moppy. It's Moppy. Let me see. RGF. I believe Iranian Americans were held against the world. Oh, absolutely. Abso-stinking-lutely. I have no doubt. Look, it follows suit. Absolutely. Flying Nubia Queen is a black channel on YouTube. Gotcha. Michael, we know about Trump and American history. All I need to know, Iranians aren't killing people who look like me. Good point. Yep, that's a really good perspective. Thank you. Yeah, I love it. You're making me think a lot. So I will read over some of the things that the Progressive Caucus had to say, and they didn't mince words. They aren't afraid of him like the Republicans. I think he has something over Republicans, maybe, because they are just pathetic. The ones that support him, how can they face their children? God, how can they face themselves? So I'll just read a couple things and then we can wrap up the show. I know it's getting kind of late. I so appreciate everyone's, being here and just I would love to make this a call-in so that I could have your voices and not me blabbing so much. This is what they said. It appears that there are no casualties as of this moment, which most of us probably knew, maybe, I'm not sure. And that this is the result of reckless action by Trump. It's kind of obvious, I guess, but they all said it, and it needs to be said by the leaders. They had just come from a classified debriefing where they saw zero raw evidence that there was imminent danger. And now he's changed his story completely. It wasn't the imminent danger. I mean, it's crazy. She went on to say that he did not have the congressional authorization or provide notification. Oh, Colin would be awesome. You know what? That's what I'm trying for my Tuesdays. And yesterday was a flop, but I'm going to get this. I had Colin and it worked in practice, but then when we actually tried to do it, it didn't work. It was like the biggest fail ever. I was like, God, but I'm going to try next Tuesday. So please hang in there with me because Colin, it would be fantastic. I could just chat and it'll be awesome if we can get the technology going. Thanks. I would love that. I want to try to build this audience since I'm completely off of Facebook, kicked off, booted off of every group, everything. I'm just going to focus on my YouTube, I guess, and try to get another group. But with everyone's support, it's at 9 on Tuesdays, 9 Eastern. And it's not going to be as long as this, and it's going to be really specific to topics. But I would love to have people call in. Ghost Killa, good night. Thank you so much for being here. You are wonderfully supportive. I'll just read a couple more things and we'll wrap it up. Great to have you. You always have excellent comments and just get this. You're wonderful for the show. Everybody. I can't thank everyone enough. This means a lot to me. Kim, I will have done a radio call, and if you want, I will do it. Yes, because I have done. Yes. I know because right, Neil. I don't know if bye, Moppy. I don't know if everybody knows, but Neil had his own syndicated United States radio show, and yes, I would love your help. And RGFT Town 1, good night, and thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. I think it's a good time to wrap it up. It's very late, and I can save stuff for next. Sadly, it's going to be here next week. But thank you so much for being here. And check out any of the stuff that I was going to talk about is on a video that I already put on the YouTube channel. If you believe like I do that it's way past time for white Americans to learn our own racial history and step up to the plate and care about our fellow humans. Not guilt, just acting human. We see a problem. We love our fellow humans. We want to help. Not to lead, not to get the attention, none of that, because we care. So if you like this show and you know anybody who wants to talk about this kind of stuff, it's not for everybody. I get that. Some people, it is upsetting and they don't want to talk about it. But if you know anyone, please support my YouTube channel by bringing people on and telling them about what I do. I talk about racism. I talk about bigotry. I talk about inequality. I swear sometimes. And I love the support I'm getting from everybody. So good night, everybody. And next, it's going to be Tuesday. I'm going to try it again, hopefully with better calling. And then Wednesday, of course, I'll have one of these days. Goodness, I'll have to look. We're going to have a live stream of the debates. And what it is I can't remember if it's the 15th or what. I should have known. But I think it might be next Wednesday. I'll have to look. I could be completely wrong. But there's another debate coming up. And what I do is I live stream it. And I'm kind of quiet. I know it's hard to believe, but I am kind of. And we just type and talk. And you can talk in real time about what you think. Because some people don't have like someone next to them who's going to shoot the shit with them. Neil, remember Rome was not built in a day, so be patient and it will grow and work. Thank you, Neil. And Neil, you are a wonderful support and a great friend. And I can't thank you guys enough. Like, this means so much to me to have the support. So good night, and thank you for watching. And if you like what's going on here, bring your friends. And I will see you hopefully Tuesday, and if not Tuesday, on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And good night, everybody. Thank you for being here. Good night. Now to turn it off is a whole nother thing. And I promise I'll practice my technology skills.